So welcome to the four-part series of me basically going through how to actually set up, get results, and actually get packed of clients for Meta ads and how to actually get Meta ads running for your business. This is for local service-based business owners only. So if you are in the e-commerce space, etc., this is not going to work, and I'll go through in a bit why this is something so important. And it is the first video that I'm going to post out of the entire lecture series or entire presentation, because this is the one that's actually going to affect 90% of your results. If you don't have a good sort of offer, you're never going to be able to make it work. So we're going to go through what an offer is, why it's important, how to make it so that you can actually produce results, right? So in terms of understanding everything so far that we have here, it's going to be one of four. Like I said, we're really going to be focusing on the offers today. And then there's also other things coming up regarding campaign setup. How do you actually make the creatives? What happens when you actually do have leads coming in, and what you're going to be expected to do after to maintain the performance. Now, this is perfect for people who are local service-based business owners. So this is not going to work for anyone like e-commerce, you're in retail, where you're selling products. And the reason is that is very much based on creatives, creating as many creatives as possible, focusing on hit rate, etc. Not something that we particularly do, not something that I'm very, very good at. Whereas I know very well how to actually generate leads, especially if you're a local business, you're like a gym, you're a med spa, you're a clinic. In the trade, you sell aircon repair, you sell home repairs, roof repairs, whatever it might be. Anything that is local services business, this is something that we are able to help with, right? In terms of experience, it doesn't matter whether you've been running ads, for 10 months, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, or you're just starting from scratch and you have no idea what you're doing. It's super, super important. If you're experienced, you're going to actually see how you can actually get better results by leaning into the fundamentals I'm going to give out, because we tend to forget about these things. And if you're completely new, it's also good that you've kind of saved yourself a lot of money and time by going through this process, because if you do this properly, you're going to get much better results as compared to someone who has no idea what they're doing on Meta and just spamming ads, like how I used to do, which was not fruitful at all. So in terms of why the system I'm going to present to you is always going to work, is that it always has worked, right? The beautiful thing about this is that this is the same process that relies on basically human fundamentals, right? Your human psychology. These things are basically embedded in our DNA. It's not going to change in the next 1,000 years. It has not changed for the last 20,000 years, right? It's going to be the same marketing principles and the same process David used to crush in 1900s. So if you know who's David, he's actually the father of advertising. So a lot of the process that a lot of the top marketers like Alex Hormozi is using is based on his principles. And no surprise, Alex Hormozi crushes now in the modern era with these principles. Now, the gap between what's been happening is that these business owners are extremely huge, right? So when we talk about systems, they're generalizing it over a lot of different industries, a lot of different places, and it's hard to see how you can actually apply this as a local business. Like you're a local business and you want to see how to actually embed and actually try these formulas, but it's hard to kind of take those huge principles and break it down, or at least cut all the fluff down to see what exactly we need to do. But the beauty is I basically run ads for local businesses. I do this all the time. I probably run thousands of different campaigns. I know what's going to work and I know which offers and to do a lot better. So what I've done is taken those information and sort of broken it down a bit more, streamlined it, if you want to call it, to a way where we can actually use it for our own. Now, my framework is pretty simple. Like I said, books, all this information is very complex, very, very general. What I want to do is basically simplify for local businesses only, for service businesses. And by the end of this video, take some notes, take your book out, take a pen out, take a notepad out. By the end of this video, you should be able to make what I call a golden offer, which is an offer so good that people feel stupid saying no, which means when you run these ads on Facebook, Instagram, you're going to be able to create leads for yourself consistently, right? So what we're going to be going through today is firstly the pillars of the offer, right? Your dream outcome, your dream client, your timeline, and what I call a risk reducer, as well as naming the offer in the the entire thing. So firstly, let's look at dream outcome. So what is dream outcome? So dream outcome is essentially what a person wants from your service, right? What do they actually fundamentally want? But the issue that people have is that they stoop very, very low into what they want. So they basically only leave the first layer, as I call it, and not really going down to why they want a particular service at a subconscious level. Now, the unfortunate thing is you cannot do that in marketing because you are basically missing the most important part about running ads, which is actually the messaging and the copy. If you don't know what a copy is, it's the description of the ad itself, the text that people write. It's called a copy, right? And this is why 90% of our ads do so well. If you had tried running ads before or the agency failed, it most likely failed because they failed to address the layers of desire of what somebody really wants from your service. Now, if a person actually fundamentally understands at the fundamental level what a customer really wants from your service, that's when you create connection with your ads. People can actually understand what you're writing. They feel emotionally attached to what you're writing and they can relate to it, and therefore they will actually click. And this is also how you actually get higher quality leads. So for this to work, you really need to stop being lazy. It's not someone wants your repair service. It's not somebody wants that. They really want something beneath, deeper and deeper, which I'll get to in a second, about why they really want to pursue your service. So you're always going to be the someone who just pretends that they want a service, right? So really stop being lazy here and really sort of peel the layers and find out what they want. So the layers of desire, what it is. So basically, most advertisers, they go on Facebook ads, they will pop an ad saying that, hey, do you want my service? Which is very surface level. Sure, you'll get some leads, but if you really want to get the human connection and actually get the emotional people coming in, you really have to target deeper, which is beneath the iceberg here, right? And if you actually break it down, any problem into the real desire, it really ends up in one of four places, which is really the ability to generate wealth or retain wealth, their health, being able to retain or get better health, their relationships, whatever the service might be affecting the relationships between people. And then the last thing, which is a bonus thing, is called freedom, right? Being able to allow people to be able to live the life that they want to live with your service. Now, you might not be able to see that connection really quick if you're a local business owner. Don't worry, as we start to peel the layers, and I give you some examples, you quickly see how you can actually add this in. So, for example, a gym example is the easiest one because everyone can relate to this at one point in their lives. But basically, for example, if someone actually just goes on Facebook and they put on an ad saying that, hey, welcome, get my free personal training, right? Now, this is what we call surface desire. So basically, they are advertising at the top of the iceberg here. If they go and actually dig a bit there or peel one layer, they're really going to find that, hey, they don't want a free personal training. They actually really want to feel confident and desire. That could be by their partner, that could be by the people around them. They can't stand themselves looking fat. Maybe they get commented, at Chinese New Year or some other festivals. Oh, you got so fat. That's probably what they don't want to hear, right? So now we want one level deeper. Now, if you actually go a level more deeper, you might find that, hey, actually, this is not just about feeling confident and desire, but they also feel bad that they can't even play with their kids anymore. They can't even play soccer with their kids. They can't play basketball with their kids. They can't even leave the house for a walk because they are so tired from work. They have no energy and they feel really, really guilty about not being there for their kids, for example. So this can happen with any business if you just go dig a bit deeper. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to put all these things in the copy, but you should know what they really, really at the bottom of their hearts want from your service, right? So how do you actually find your layers? Now, to find your layers is really quite simple. In terms of actions, what you want to start doing is, firstly, if you have clients, what you want to do is find out why these people are coming to you in the first place. That's a very simple question to ask when they come in. Just have a normal conversation with them. Ask, actually, why did you choose to want to get this service now? And then they'll tell you a whole bunch of reasons. Everybody will have different reasons, and that's fine, right? But what you want to do is write down the top 3 reasons why people want to come to you. And if you don't have clients before, very simple. If you have experience with the business that you're in, say what are the 3 reasons why you would want to pursue this service, and write it down. The next thing what you want to do is dig 3 reasons deeper for each person. So for example, if in the gym space, if they want to come for personal training, you just go, why do they want to come for personal training? If you are, for example, a tuition center, why do they want to come for math tuition, right? You dig that question and you say, okay, maybe it's because they want to get an A1 in a subject. Great. Then what you want to do is dig one more time, and there will be, why do they want an A1 for their subject? And that's probably because they want to go to a big university so that they make their parents proud. They want to fulfill their parents' expectations of them, whatever it might be. You need to dig and layer, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to find 3 of the top reasons. For each of those 3 reasons, you're going to dig deeper and deeper 3 more times. And if you do yourself a good job, you'll notice that for a particular service, you'll always end up in a very similar domain of desire. So for example, if you're a tuition center, you might all end up going back to relationships or wealth. For example, if you're in a gym space, you might all go down back to health and relationships. And if you're, for example, someone who has to, deal with renovation, interior designers, it all might go back to relationships and wealth, right? To preserve wealth, to make yourself look rich. So find your layers, find why people really want to come with your service, because this is going to affect the copy in your ads, in your messaging in your ads, and that is going to generate 90% of your good quality leads. The second thing to do is to find a dream client. It's absolutely great that we have a desired outcome, right? We know what people want, but you need to only be able to deliver these results for one particular client. Now, this is very, 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 very important, right? It doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are. If you can niche down, the money is in the niches, right? Your offer should always be for one particular person, and you're solving a very specific problem from one particular person. So your offer is for one person. Now, the way that you want to break this down is basically, what are their ages? What is their gender? What is their pain? What is their problem? And you basically want to solve that one thing for that one ideal customer, so that you look like the go-to expert in that field. The issue is that if you try to help everyone, you're going to be helping no one, or rather you look like you're the expert in nothing. I know the biggest thing is that, yes, you can help a whole bunch of people, but it doesn't matter. You can still help a lot of people, but when it comes to running ads on Facebook and Instagram, you really need to be specific on who you want to help and who you want to give that desired outcome that we mentioned to. And this is a real thing, that is not some funny thing that I'm asking you to do. It's really something psychology-wise. It's called perceived expertise. So it's something called a specialization bias. So basically, the idea is, if you advertise on Facebook and you're advertising one specific tangible thing, one specific service, you look like the expert in that field. So for example, let's just say you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, and you see an ad for a photographer, right? Now, let's make it more realistic. Let's say about a wedding coming up. You're going to have a wedding. It's a very important day in your life. You want to make sure that images are really as good as possible. You want to make sure that you capture the most greatest day of your life. Okay? So you see an ad, you're looking for photographers, you see an ad, and you see a wedding photographer pop up, some guy who says, hey, I'm a wedding photographer, please come and join me. You see that? And you see another ad saying, hey, I'm a really good photographer. Which one would you pick? Same thing, right? You would pick the wedding photographer because it's in the name that he handles weddings. He looks like an expert in wedding photography, which is amazing. Now, of course, the latter applies to your ads. So if you run ads and you just put that you are a photographer, you are basically competing with everybody else, and there is no unique formula or unique expertise that you have that people want to take advantage of, right? So in that case, you look normal, which is not what we want to do with marketing. And the beauty of this is that the biggest objection we get is that, oh, if I only do this, then I won't get leads for something else, and I don't have, I won't be able to make money. That is not the case when it comes to marketing. You need to understand that people are getting spammed with ads every single day. And it's much better for you to look specific to something than to none at all. Because if you do a good job, guess what they will do? They'll ask you to take photography for everything else as well, right? So if you do a good job as a wedding photographer, great news, they'll probably want you to come down for their family shoots, something else. As long as you provide them that service really well and you give them an opportunity, they will want to take it. Now, so how do you actually formulate this? It's very simple. You want to take this, take a screenshot or whatever, write it down in your notes. So my ideal client is a 20-year-old man in the police industry who aims to go higher in their job and move away from being a normal officer. Very terrible example, but you get the idea. So what you want to do is you basically want to go take your client list. If you have a client list, look through all the data, see what typically their ages are, see what their gender is, see what they usually as a work as a profession, and obviously you have the dream outcome from what you've done before with the layers of desire, and then you see what the biggest problem is for that client, right? You find their biggest pain. So the pain is simply why they even chose to come with you at all in the first place. Much better example here. So my ideal client is a 56-year-old woman who typically has a high corporate job, who aims to feel younger again through my Botox filler service and move away from feeling bad looking at herself in the mirror. So you can see it's the same concept here. So map your 20%. So find your 20% of spenders, right? Who actually paid for your service, map their age, gender, profession, dream, outcome, and pain. And you want to see what is a common pattern between them and actually map out your ideal client. Pillar 3 of making a really good offer for meta ads is going to be your timeline. Now, this is critical. This is something that's missing. This is where we see the difference between a really good advertiser and someone who is okay. Because if you do the other things right, you might get good results, but people pay for speed. Think about it. Think of people who are going to, for example, they're going to the gym, they're working really hard, they wait 2 years to lose weight, or they can just buy, surgery and lose that weight in like 2 weeks, right? Because speed sells. They want to get results faster. And that's how Amazon works as well. The whole idea is how can I, give you things faster, right? And because the faster I send you the things, the more reward I feel from it, and the more dopamine I get, and the more I want to pay you for it, because speed is one of the most important things, especially with someone who has money. So what you want to do is you want to be able to help them visualize speed. Now this is the important things, right? Because speed is not just about producing results in a particular amount of time. It's also about the perception of getting those results. When, for example, when you put an ad out and it says, I'll help you get this result, your desired outcome in 2 weeks, that sounds a lot easier for someone to perceive as compared to someone who has an ad that just says, get your result. Because they cannot visualize in their head while they look through your ads, while they're on the toilet, scrolling through Facebook, Instagram ads, when they can expect these results. And when you actually do this, you actually create visualization. So using a timeline you offer helps potential clients understand the journey and the outcome. So firstly, like I said, it's going to cut through the noise. They're going to see your ad with the timeline. They're going to say stop. Now they can visualize it in their head, even for a brief second, about when they can get a desired outcome with you, right? Compared to a competitor's ad where they can just visualize the outcome, but until they can feel it and they can see themselves in the position, they can't actually take that attention. So you need to have a timeline to do two things, right? Firstly, which is, like I said, for speed. The second thing is really for perception, or psychology, I guess. So action for this one, to add a timeline, you really typically want to do is figure out how long your service typically takes. You want to add it to your marketing, and obviously if you can find a way to deliver your products faster, your services faster, then do it. If not, just adding it to your marketing, even if it's a long period, it's going to make a huge difference. Pillar 4 is a risk reducer. Now this is super interesting, because this is what can take a normal campaign and put it on steroids. Okay. Now, what is a risk reducer? A risk reducer is really important to basically reduce risk, right? Because if you look at meta ads, it's not Google, right? It's not Google ads where someone is, won the service, they'll go to Google, they'll search up the campaign. This is 3% of people who are actually looking to buy. 97 of people in the funnel are not even ready to do anything, right? They're just considering, they're looking, they're in the buying cycle, but they're not ready to buy. Only 3% are. So they'll go to Google and start searching different stuff. Now, we are targeting cold audiences on Meta, 97%, which means if you know how to do your Meta ads well, you get flooded with it. This is where the majority are. So cold audiences need a reason to act, and the risk reducer makes them think, might as well give it a shot, right? Might as well give it a shot, because the reality is nobody on Facebook trusts you, right? So this is a circle of trust, really good diagram to kind of see what's going on. So you and the source, your partner, your children, your co-workers, you're all the way here. You're a stranger on the internet. You might be farther down here, to be honest. So it's really important that you have a risk reducer to make your offer compelling enough for them to give it a shot. All right. So what's a risk reducer? It's basically things that are going to give them easy way out. So for example, a free trial to try it out, money back guarantees to give them some hope, free exchanges, buy one, get one free, free sample, etc. Now, these work, they always have work. Any big company that you've ever thought about, they all have this amazing money back guarantees. They all have these free trials because business use it because they're absolutely confident in their product and they need to give people a try. And the reality is, for a lot of you local businesses, you already do this. You already give refunds when someone is extremely annoying. You already give them a money back guarantee. You already maybe give them a free trial. You already give them so many different things that are free in your service that your competitor might not. It's all about just adding it into your marketing to make your case even more compelling, right? So the return on investment is huge. Now, a lot of you might be saying, it's like, I can't do this for free. And that's fine. You don't have to do something for free. There are plenty of different offers that's going to work without it, right? But what I'm saying is a risk reducer can really take your cost per lead from $30 per lead to about $5 per lead. And it's not even funny, that metric. It really does that. It provided that you find a risk reducer that actually targets what the customer base actually wants. Right? So there are 4 sort of levers in terms of what you can do for risk reducers. The first one is an outcome guarantee. That simply means this is really good for business owners that relies on an outcome, right? You really trying to promise an outcome. So if you get this, you actually can get a result. If you don't get a result, I'll send you a refund. So you're basing everything on a desired outcome, right? The first part of the offer, you're basing it off that. The second thing is a time guarantee. So this is the timeline that we mentioned. So for example, if your service relies on it being delivered on time, which means the biggest thing is that time is the factor. This could be interior designers, for example, where you need to actually produce results on time. People are known in the market, or businesses are known in your market to be severely delayed. In this case, time guarantees can make them feel like something will happen really quicker, or something will happen for them so that they feel happy that all the bad stories they heard from their friends won't happen to them. The third thing is a done with you safety net. So this is basically when there is a reliability, or there's a reliance rather, on your service being affected by your clients. So what I mean by this is, like, for example, let's just say you have a tuition center, education, you're in a space where you actually need some work from the client to actually deliver the final outcome. So, right, for example, in tuition, yes, you can be the best teacher in the world. Yes, you can give them everything. Yes, you can send them extra classes. But if they don't do the homework themselves, they don't do a bit of study on themselves, they're never going to get that outcome, which is going to be able to get better grades, right? So in this case, you can have a done with you safety net. So we'll keep working with you until you get the result. We'll keep doing this until you get that. So you're more of saying that since you're working together, I'm happy to kind of share the risk. This is very different from the outcome guarantee, where in an outcome guarantee, there is no reliance on the customer. You actually deliver the result entirely on your own. In that case, somebody wants full confidence that you will actually produce the results. The last thing is risk reversal on the first step. So basically, in this case, you're doing something called a lead magnet, for example, where you actually give them a sample to actually create long-term clients down the line. So for example, this would be very useful for industries that rely on buying multiple times throughout the year. This could be like a nail salon, a massage parlor, any business that relies on people coming in regularly over time, laser clinics, etc. Right? So what you can always do is free first session. You can do something like a discounted first session, something to get them to come down, because once they come down and you provide an amazing service, they'll be customers for life, right? Like imagine like you're a hair salon. Yeah, maybe you get 25% off the first cut, but for life, they'll actually be your customer. That's a really good risk reversal. Okay, so I'm going to go through some examples because I think this is so important. So don't be scared. Like I said, if it's an outcome guarantee, your service is good and you deliver what people want, gives a perception of absolute confidence in your product. So if you're wedding photography, get a gallery you genuinely love within 4 weeks. A wedding, or we want half your package, right? Once again, it's all based on your ability to deliver. Window cleaning, if you're not happy with the clean, we'll redo your every window. Plumber or tradie will fix the leak on the first visit, or the call out fee is on us, which honestly, like a lot of things that people are already doing. We're just putting it in the advertising so that people actually know, and it makes you seem unique. Dental cleaning, visibly whiter teeth in your first visit, or your whitening session is free. Math, like I said, one full letter grade up in one term, or the next term is free. Time guarantee, the idea is being delivered on time, like an interior design, like I said, really good for you to actually deliver. If you don't deliver in your project in 21 days, we'll take 10% of the project fee. If you don't hit your milestone in the next 30 days, your monthly coaching is fee. SaaS company, if you're not onboarded and live within the first 14 days, your first 3 months are free. If you're a migration visa consultant, application filled within the first 10 days of your intake call, or we refund you 50% of our fee. Car detailing, where as you're driving within 2-hour window you booked, or the detail is 50% off. Right? These are all good time guarantees where in businesses where time is actually one of the big concerns that people have. Down with your safety nets. Like I said, this is really for education, for people who actually have a reliance on the prospect. For example, you're a real estate agent, you're a career coach. I'm not going to read through everything I have here, but this is a really good example to look at. So driving instructor, if you fail your test after completing our program, the next round of lessons and resit our honors until you pass, right? It's probably quite impossible to do, but a lot of these are pretty hardcore. Like you don't have to do it as much. You can reduce it and increase it as you like. Right, and then there's a risk reversal. Like I said, this is really good for people who are rely on repeat visits. So massage therapy, financial advisors, martial arts, hair salons, accountant, bookkeepers. For example, free books review. How good is that if you're an accountant to give a free books review? And if you don't find $1,000 in missed deduction or savings, you don't even pay, or you won't pitch you at all. You just walk away with a free report. That is such a good risk reversal where people want to actually visit, get you checked out, see what you do, and once they see that you're actually so much better than what was advertised, they'll simply stay on with you for many more months, years, in fact, right? But the whole idea is to get them to give you a chance first, and that's what the risk reducer is all about. So in terms of making these offers risk reducer, especially if you put some rubbish like satisfaction guarantee, you're not gonna get any leads, right? There's no point doing that. In fact, it probably just makes you look worse, like you don't really care about what you're doing. Whereas if you have something that's a bit more bolder, what reality happens is that you get 10x the number of leads. And this is why we started off with the desired outcome and the ideal client, because we really want to find what they need help with and what do they hate about the industry. So one thing to build a risk research, write 2 to 3 real fears that your client has before buying. So this could be objections. If you had leads come in, they say they want to come through your service, you ask them why. They say blah blah blah, too expensive, too this, too that. Find out real fears, write it down. Find the biggest fear that's stopping them. Usually, is it really because they're scared that their kids won't get results, etc., etc. Find it, and then from there, you simply want to go down to this and find which one you're most comfortable with. For example, I'm a big fan of outcome guarantee, but for people who are not, I think the done with you safety net is a very safe and reliable one to go for as well, right? So that's it. That's how you get your risk reducer. So now we've built our desired outcome, we've gotten our ideal client, right? We've got a timeline, and now we've put in the risk reducer as well. So it's time to now put it all together. So basically, once you've done this, I hope you've been following along. I hope you've actually paused the video and actually found out the different aspects for yourself. So once you put it all together, is I help ideal client, you write it down, get the desired outcome, write it down in blah, blah, blah time, and the risk reducer. A risk reducer can be any part of the sentence, right? I'll tell you how to use it in a second, but risk reducer has to be there. So here are some examples. Math tutoring. I help struggling students get from one full grade up in 12 weeks, or the next term is free. Let's have a look. So math tutoring, that is going to be your client, right? Who you want to help with. I want to help students doing math tutoring go one full grade up. That is your desired outcome, right? In 12 weeks, which is your timeline, or the next term is free. And that is going to be part of your risk reducer. Now, the desired outcome, yes, is one full grade up. That is true, right? Remember, when you talk about it longer in the description, that's really where, don't worry, I'll go through in the next video lecture. That's really where you actually go through the layers of desire. But this is a great example for math tutoring. For med spas, medical spas, so I help women 40 to 50s feel younger again with a 145-minute visit, touch-up free if you're not happy. So here's a risk reducer. Here is your ideal client, a woman 40 to 50, feel younger is going to be the desired outcome. And this is the 45-minute visit, which is a risk reducer, like I said. Right? Personal training, I help dads, very specific niche, lose 15 kg in 12 weeks, desired outcome, timeline, first week free, walk if not impressed, that is a risk reducer. Roof cleaning, I help homeowners, that is the ideal client, make their roof look brand new of the street, and under a day, if it doesn't work, it will come back free until it does. So last part is naming your offer. So great, but we need to now make an offer that people remember. So why does a name matter? Because if you actually did this right, you will notice, and if you put this together, you have a really, really long sentence, right? But a really long sentence is not going to be viable at all for ads, because how are you going to put the entire thing into, a small creative or image ads or video ads? Like, how are you going to put it down? Well, you can't. So that's why we need to give yourself a name. Now, you cannot fit the whole offer in an ad. You need a name. And this is because we want people not to forget what we do. A golden offer name does three things. It's short. It's about 10 words maximum. It's extremely catchy, right? And it sounds completely new to the market, even though it absolutely is not. You're doing the exact same thing that everybody else does, but it sounds amazing. It sounds like completely new. Someone has never done it before. It's so catchy that your friend remembers it and like, hey bro, I did this for that. I did this company called the blah 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 challenge. Like, do you want to give it a shot? Very, very catchy, very, very exciting, and super, super short. Now, good name examples. So, some of the offers I ran before: 30-day consign and cash out system, the free 6-week body transformation challenge, jump 3 grades or you don't pay. These are really good examples of names that sound really good. It rolls off the tongue, like 30-day consign and cash out rolls off the tongue. Jump 3 grades or you don't pay. It's a very strong offer that you can actually easily squeeze into your ads, and you will notice that, right? You will notice that it's not covering the full offer with the ideal clients and everything. and that's completely fine. I'll go through that in the next video, because what you want to do is really take your offer and cut it down into 5 to 6 words that's completely concise in what you do, so that someone who can read it immediately kind of gets an idea on what you do. And that's when the copy, the description of your ad goes through the full details about the ideal client, the desired outcome, the timeline, and a whole bunch of other things like the risk reducer to convince them. This is really for the ad itself, so there was something really catchy, really memorable for people to remember. So how do you name your offer? So firstly get your full golden offer written out, like I said, which is going to be I help blah 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 blah, get to blah 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 blah. Second thing is to paste it into ChatGPT and keep iterating until it gives you something exciting. So basically, drop it into ChatGPT, tell it that you want to have a cool, concise name. You basically just, if you want to take a screenshot of this, pop in the ChatGPT and ask it to give you some names. Remember, like I said, the name won't contain everything. That's what your ad copy is for. And the name on your ad really goes to capture attention. And your ad copy is what will actually break down the 4 pillars in much greater detail. So let's talk next steps. So if you've done this properly, you've actually gone through the full offer, what you might want to do is that you would have a lot of questions, right? You would have a lot of questions. So there's 2 options here. So firstly, you can actually join a $97 school group chat. It might be cheaper, it might be more expensive right now, I don't know. Just click the link button below. And what this will do is very simple. I've done a lot of courses, I've done a lot of systems in my life, but everything was great. They gave me a whole bunch of presentations, but what was missing for me was that I didn't feedback on what's going on. Like, I need to know if what I'm doing is right or I'm doing something wrong. So this group chat is going to give you everything. It's going to give you my templates, it's going to give you my CRMs for free, it's going to give you the other ChatGPT scripts, the prompts that I use to make all these offers. Everything that I'm going to be able to do, I'm going to give it away completely there, right? Now, you also get the great opportunity, which I think is more useful, which is to get your offer and everything else approved. So you can ask a question in that group chat, say, hey, is this a good one? Is this a bad one? Am I going to lose money? Am I going to make money? And I'll be able to give you a next step into telling you whether this is a good offer or is a bad offer, because this is what I basically do on a daily basis, right? So if you want to join that as a school group chat, which you can join, and I'm not sure what the price is. It might be more expensive or less expensive. So if you want to click more, that should tell you everything that I'm going to give you and see whether you want to join that. The other option is if you're a bigger business, you feel like you don't want to do this by yourself, you want to just get someone, you just want to get us to actually do it for you, you want me and my team to build you the offer ourselves, run your ads for ourselves, and actually get you the leads and results that you want. What you can do is click the other link in bio, where you can actually go to our WhatsApp chat, where you'll basically be qualified to see whether you'll be a good fit for us. And if you are, you'll be invited for a full session with one of our team members to go through your current process of booking in leads, see whether we can actually help you get more leads and get you more appointments for your business, right? So let me know how you go with that. If you need more help, just put a comment down below. We will answer some of your questions that you have, and we'll see you in the next lecture series.